All right, here we are. Last try. Been working on this all day and I haven't got it right yet, but I'm just going to try to spit this one out. All right, Vincent Miller, welcome to week 3, advanced trauma. 3 concepts that we wanted to talk about a minute of each of them. So, without further ado, I got a lot to say, so let's get started. First one was metacognition. My first word is metacognition. What is metacognition? Metacognition is thinking about thinking. It is thinking about how you collect your thoughts, how you form thoughts, how you develop ideals, and the process that you go through when you think. I equate it to critical thinking, which I think is a highly overlooked aspect of our profession as social workers, especially when it comes to theory and different types of approaches to treatment. A couple books that I have that I really liked on metacognition is this one, Thank You for Arguing. It's a really good book. It goes through Aristotle, Lincoln, Hellman. It talks about the different ways they put together their arguments. Another great mind was Rene Descartes. I think, therefore, I am. 20th century philosopher Karl Popper is another one, and he came up with the concept of falsifiability. So in science, he says, when you have a concept or a theory, you should do your best, your utmost, to try to prove that theory, make it disreputable. And as you can't, you build your case to the positive, of course. So metacognition, thinking about thinking, I think is very important for us as a profession. It goes right into our critical thinking skills, which is quite important. Alexa, turn off. All right, the second one, consciousness. What is consciousness? Is it illusion? Is it, many different things here. I tend to agree with the most concise definition I can think of, which was Hegel's article when he wrote What It's Like to Be a Bat. Basically, he boils the argument down to, if it's like to be something, then that something is conscious. So if you can think of what it's like to be a dog, if you can think of what it would be like to be a dog, then that's conscious. Dog's conscious. Now, he's not on the same conscious level as we are, of course. He can't think to the future or plan. He can't think for others in group think and that kind of stuff. But there's still a consciousness there. What is it like to be a shoe? Well, no one knows what it's like to be a shoe, so it's probably not conscious. 2 books I really like on consciousness is this one by David Deutsch. I don't know if you can see that. The Beginning of Infinity, where basically he makes the argument that mankind will solve and can solve any problems as we move through and use critical thinking to scientifically approach our problems. And the next one is by Annika Harris, which is Consciousness. Really like this book, not very thick. She delves into panpsychism, which says, well, maybe there's consciousness in everything. Don't know really, but definitely thought-provoking. Consciousness, what it's like to be something. That's what I think about when I think of consciousness, eternal lights and somebody is there. All right, third and final one is one of my favorite. It's Mind and Self. Okay, the mind and self. What is the difference between the mind and what I perceive as myself? There's always that idea that there's a ghost in the machine, someone behind the eyes running the show, right? Well, I've heard it explained before that, and this is the best way I like to think about it, the mind is what the brain does. So the mind is the action of the brain. It's the thinking, it's what is a process of it. The self is just how I interpret me. How I interpret me. So what is the self of me? Is this the self of me? Is Vincent the self of me? Well, maybe or maybe not. I could go bald. I could, lose part of my face. I can lose an arm. Am I still me? Pretty much, could be argued. But what happens when I start losing my mental faculties? What happens with Alzheimer's patients? And at what point do they lose their self? So clinically, I think it's very important that we understand the mind is what the brain does. And the concept of self, personally, is an illusionary concept that says there's a ghost behind in the machine somewhere. We are the machine. Anyone that's meditated will say you'll not find yourself in your head, in your heart, and your self is there. It's all connected. So the 3 words for me this week were metacognition, which is thinking about thought, critical thinking, It was consciousness, which is just the ability of being. All right, what it's like to be something. It's the agency piece of it. And then mind and self. What is the difference between mind and self? What's the connection between mind and self? Are they one and the same, or are they separate? Well, either way, hope you have a great weekend. Enjoy. I'll see you this week. Peace out.